Who are you? So let me ask you this. If you are still listening, which truly if you are, that is marvelous. It's marvelous. That means you want to know who you are. And if in fact you've turned the radio, the computer, the phone, if you've just X'd out, if you've done anything but listen to this and shut it off, I can say this in my factual opinion that you who have chosen to end the recording, once offended, you are part of the you less. Imagine having a group of nothing. And if in fact you've imagined it, can you show it to me and prove nothing? You know, there was a man who lived, not sure when, but he lived, and people know him, people know of him. He's definitely an afterthought now, but he was a thought then, and you know, the words he used and the words that he put together, still to this day, till this day, literally maybe 2,600 years later. No, I'm sorry, not sorry. I can't control most of the things I say because I just say them, but he literally maybe 1,600 years ago, 1,700 years ago, just know that no one on earth today was alive when this human said these words. But still, even to today, the only day that matters, his word will still hold up to the test of time. This motherfucker's name was Socrates. And his name is just as ugly as his face. This motherfucker was ugly. He was not something that was bearable to look at during a conversation. He wasn't the guy you wanted to hang out with. He wasn't the guy you brought out in public. If he was your friend, you always met at his house at weird hours of the day, weird hours of the night. You met him in the back alley somewhere. But here's the thing. You met him, you knew him, you know of him because of the words that he was able to put together. The only reason why we know what words are is because they have a fucking meaning. Where'd those meanings come from? Where did they come from? Think about that. Just a question to think about. But this man, Socrates, was dedicated to the mind. He was dedicated to the body. He was dedicated to how, why, what, where, when. He was dedicated to the life of questioning. When in fact, Socrates was found to be guilty of whatever the law said he could and could not do. He was going to be put to death, and be put to death a martyr. Look up what the word martyr means. I'm not flipping all the way to M. But in fact, once a man or woman become a martyr, they are what? Remembered. And then not only remembered, but talked about, read about, written about. This man was going to be put to death. And then in fact, they said, we can't let this man die. So they gave him a way out. He was given a way out. You're telling me I'm about to be put to death, and you're giving me a free way out? I may take it. But in fact, as this thing they call history goes, he made sure he was put to death. He made sure of it. Until the day he died, he knew the words he was using were true. They were facts. Most importantly, they were facts in his opinion. I am surprised that Socrates never coined the phrase, "These are facts, in my opinion." Because with all things, obviously there's a meaning behind a word, and fact, we just found out what it was. And in fact, if a fact is a fact, it must be a fact to you too, right? A fact is a fact is a fact is a fact is a fact. It must be a fact once it's a fact to all. It must be, right? I'm asking. I don't know the answer to this. Because if a fact is a fact, and in fact, people are being put to death for saying fact and using words that, I don't know if it's words that confuse people, but in fact, he was put to death for using words. He wasn't out killing anybody. He wasn't out raping. He wasn't out pillaging. He wasn't out, causing disturbance. He wasn't out urinating in public. This man was put to death because of the words he used. Now let's see what the word opinion means. Judgment or belief. Estimation. Formal statement by an expert. Now, if you're opinionated, you're considered dogmatic. Bear with me here. Dictionaries are big. But an opinion, judgment or belief? Judgment or belief. Now let me ask you, what's your opinion? Dogmatic. Pertinent to a dogma. Dogma means philosophical tenet, theological doctrine, authoritatively asserted, principle, a principle or belief. Dogmatic. Pertinent to a dogma. Opinionated, authoritative. Dogmatics. The science of systemized Christian doctrines. Doctrinal theology. Dogmatize. To formulate a dogma. To express an opinion positively or arrogantly. Dogmatism. Positive assertion. Laying down the law. Dogmatist. An opinion. So, Socrates, this man that I bring up, was a man who was extremely opinionated. he was extremely and positively opinionated. And to him, it was, is, and forever will be fact. And we know this because he kept saying, he kept using the words he knew and their meaning to emphasize his factual opinion. And he did so up until the day human being put him to death. And we know this to be facts because, in fact, Socrates kept using the word and words he knew and the meaning behind those words to put emphasis and positivity behind what he knew. And we know this to be true based on history, what was written down, recorded, however you want to remember something that had happened in the past. But no matter, this man, up until the day he was sentenced and put to death, he kept saying and using the words that he knew to be facts in his opinion. Side note, just a side note, just to give you guys an insight of who this man was. He was ugly as fuck. Looked like he got rolled in the back. Looks like he got rolled up on and rolled and fucking looks like somebody just used their hand as a meat cleaver on his face. Ugly fuck, man. Married a couple times though. I mean, he must have had his way with the ladies. I'm pretty sure he just used his words. Anywho, he was married to a woman who treated him like, I can't say shit because you don't even treat shit like this, but he was treated like a punching bag. He was treated like the trash that you throw away the night before the trash goes out. He was treated like somebody who would treat somebody like a punching bag or a piece of garbage would be treated. And let me tell you this. When asked why he stuck around, why he was with the other human that treated him as if he were human garbage, he said, because if I can find it in me to deal with, to find a way around, to be able to, I guess you can say, to be able to put up with this bitch, then, in fact, there is not one thing that can stop me from doing or holding me back. Remember that the next time you just want to run away. Remember that the next time you want to put your hands on a human. Remember that the next time you want to use a harsh word or get angry because the mail was late. Remember that. Just remember that. Because in fact, it's a fact in my opinion that you will be beaten down by the thing that makes you angry. You will be taken advantage of by the thing that makes you angry. And knowing the abilities of the mind, you must know this. Once you give in, or once you let something other than you be held as the scapegoat for the you are in the moment, you at that moment are you less. to claim no control, or to say I was angry, or to say it was the alcohol, or to say it was the drugs, or to say it was I'm under so much stress because of this test, or to say I'm just having a bad day. These are scapegoats so that you cannot be the you were at the moment. You must find the ability inside yourself to say, this was my fault. This was something I chose to do. And that's solely up to you. Nobody can force a confession. Nobody can force you to do that. That's something you do to you. That's something you do. You look in a mirror, there's no other way to look at yourself. You couldn't possibly. Reflections don't count. Sometimes they make you look fat. Sometimes they make you look thin. Sometimes they make you look like a worm. Sometimes you could have no head, a big body, big feet. It don't matter unless you're looking directly into your own you, which is the only way you can look at you. Unless you're a vampire. Oh, shoot. If you're a vampire, please just tell me I'm wrong. Because you have no way of knowing who you are. And I'd really like to help show you. So Socrates held on to words and their meaning until the day he died. Now, the words he used are no different from the words that you use on a daily basis. They're no different from the words I'm using right now. They're just words. It's just a word. It's just a sentence, a question, a paragraph, a book, a novel, a script, a scribble down on a notepad, a scribble down on a post-it note. Words are words. As so many of them as there are, there's so many fucking words. Only 26 letters in any alphabet. I'm pretty sure the Greeks and Romans and everybody else has extra letters. Not even sure why we have letters. I've questioned that as well. We'll get into that on a more in-depth episode. But just words in general, you can use words every day. Even the deaf know how to use words. Even the blind who can't see words know words. Mutes know words. Words are universal. Maybe in different languages, but hey, in order to communicate, or in order to get a point across, an opinion across, the fact across, in order to get anything out there so that another human can either relate or read or be a part of, or there's no other way to do it other than words. So what the fuck is up with the meanings of these words? Have you ever thought about that? Have you ever looked at a word and were like, what the fuck is that? You remember this word? You must, if you were ever a youngster. This word here, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Again, I'll say, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Yes, it is a real word. It can be spelled, it can be said, it can be written down, it can be emphasized. You can use it in a sentence. That ice cream I had the other day was supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, son. You ain't never had no ice cream like that. I'm sure using a word like that, the human you were talking to would probably ask, where'd you go to get this supercalifragilisticexpialidocious ice cream? And my response would be, you already know. With a word like that, you could put emphasis on so many things. Probably never a bad thing or a negative thing. This word here could only be used if, in fact, at the end of the sentence, at the end of the statement, at the end of the question, at the end of any time you use the word supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, anytime you use it, you got a motherfucking smile on your face. You're adding a couple extra wrinkles up next to that eye. You're putting some wrinkles on your face at that moment. Shit, some of you probably your fucking corners of your face are touching your chin bones, your cheekbones. I mean, if they're touching your chin bones, you maybe have like a cleft palate or something. I can't really explain all that, but look at if you're using that word, you must be smiling. You must be showing some teeth. You may not be showing teeth at all, but in fact, if you use that word, your mouth is open and you are looking like you're grinning like the Grinch. And when did that ever become a bad thing? Or something that's frowned upon? How dare you frown on a smile? A smile is a smile. But if in fact you frown, if I look at you while I was upside down, I'd be happy as you are. There's no way to look at it any different. Anybody with a frown, just flip them upside down, we'll shake the gold coins out of their pockets, and we'll make them a better human. And they're probably miserable. Who carries around gold coins, you know? But shit, who decided to put a meaning behind all these words? So many words. There's so many ways to use the different words. Who decided at what time and in what place to define them? And then to remember or be reminded to write that shit down. Now I'm sure the internet's got a slew of reasons and answers to this question, but again, this is what we do here. And all we're doing is thinking about it and then speaking on a subject that we know nothing about. And why would we do that, Philip? Hey, Philip. I know it's been a long episode, but dude, wake up. Philip, why in the world would we do that? Damn straight, dude. Damn fucking straight. Because you're retarded. Epiphany Chris is retarded. How dare you think about something and speak on it without knowing all the facts? How dare you not know what you're talking about? How dare you? Go ahead, say those words to me. I accept them. You are retarded. Oh my goodness. Do I get an award? Is there a trophy? Is there a trophy? There's not? Great. I don't do this for trophies. Who wants to be a retard and get a trophy? If in fact you want to be the slowest, and I know they're giving out trophies now for that, I haven't reached the finish line yet, so I'm going to keep on being retarded until the day they take my life for using words that I know the meaning to and will continue to say until I'm sure I'll be bleeding from every orifice or torn limb from limb or sliced up like a kebab or a shishami, a shwam. I don't fucking know how they say it, but until the day that I am no longer living, the words I use that I know the meaning to will forever and ever be what Epiphany Chris says and will continue to say to you. Regardless of whether the meanings are fucked up or not, I'm not sure how that all worked, but unless you were able to be a part of everything for infinite, no word could ever be defined, technically. They described the word infinite based on math, based on zero, which does not exist. And to be honest with all of you, I'm claiming that as dumb. It's an insult to the human intelligence to tell me that I got 0 apples. Or to tell me that I have nothing. When in fact, I will ask, prove it. Because in this you's existence of life, up into the point where this you chose not to exist any longer, this you can claim to all you that you are the only you that matter. If I'm lying, I'm dying. And I'm okay with that. So the question I propose here at the end of this little segment about the meaning of words is, who is the decider of meaning? Thanks for taking my hand. It's in rough shape now. It's in very rough shape these past few months, my hand. For you to grasp a hold of that hand and just walk with me down that thought path, I appreciate you for that. It's an honor to have you have listened to this you who doesn't know anything. I will claim to not know it. I will claim to know nothing. And still keep questioning. So thank you. Again, it's just something we think about here. We don't do anything. We just think and talk. We just think and talk and think and talk and think and talk. Question, think, talk, question, think, talk, question, think, talk. Do we ever get any answers? Well, that is literally up to you. So here, let's not let this be forgotten. Here's something to think about for the next episode of the TrapHouse podcast. Here's something to think about. Outside. I'll say it again. Outside. Don't get it confused with out and side. One word. Outside. It's just one word. Why did you pause in between it? Epiphany Chris? Well, you know what? That's none of your business. I'm going to do whatever the fuck I want to do. But here's something to think about. Outside. We'll get to that on the next episode, I guess. Maybe. Maybe not. Maybe. Maybe not. So, do you remember photo albums? You remember these things? You remember, I guess the majority of the time anyone really looks at a photo album, unless you are a legitimate scrapbooker and you just spend your life living in the past. If in fact you're not one of these scrapbookers who live their entire life in the past, then you will remember photo albums. If you had a grandma, if you had a great-grandma, if you had a mom, if you had a dad, if you didn't have either of those, you had some sort of figure in your life. You must have. Everyone does. Unless you've lived a life solely and 100% by yourself, then in fact you must have seen at one time or in one place a photo album. Or, you know what, let me just make it even easier just so everyone can be involved. If in fact you have ever been in a photo and then at any time you have gone back and looked at said photo, then you will 100% get it. So a lot of the times they look like these big binders. They were, sometimes they're leather, sometimes they're faux leather, sometimes they were made out of, wood, sometimes they were, there are so many different ways depending on who was keeping the album, whose idea it was to put the photos in the album. Whoever was in control of the album chose what the album looked like. In this use case, the albums that laid around for us were thick. They were thick. Thick. Durable. You know, the pages had, I think it was 6. You could fit 6 pictures on each page, and then you could fucking turn that page and have 6 more on the back, so you were able to put 2 pictures in one thing. Now these books were durable. They were heavy duty. They were meant to last. Some of the ones had clasps or locks or some sort of twine. You know, like on manila envelopes where they take that little bit of twine and then they twist it around that little red dot. That way it means it's confidential. Nobody can ever get into this. It's so secure. You get it? But that's the type of ties we had on some of the albums. But anyway, there's so many different types of albums, and these albums took up like a small bookshelf. Just poof, 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 poof. So many pictures were taken over time or space or however you want to look at your life. Now, the last time Epiphany Chris looked through a photo album was 10, 12, maybe even 11. You know, it was so long ago. But in fact, when is it that you look at photo albums? If in fact you ever had one or you remember. When was it that you looked through them? Was it every day? Did you look through them every day? Did you sit and reminisce every day? Did you spend some time or a little bit of time, you know, looking through these all the time? Was it something you remembered to do every day? Was it almost like a workout schedule or a work schedule? Or was it with family? Were you with another? Or were you at a family event, say a birthday, Thanksgiving, any of these holidays that they've convinced humans to be a part of and to enjoy and, you know, do the things that everybody else is doing? What are you doing on Thanksgiving? Oh, the same thing I'm doing? Cool. Gotta love those stories, you know? So when you looked at these albums, were you just doing it to do it, or did you do it during special occasions, family events, holiday? When did you look at them? This you knows that our family looked at them at every birthday, every holiday, pretty much after dessert, before dinner. It was something that was flipped through on a daily basis, or an event basis. Didn't mean to say daily, but during the time of the event, it was definitely a day. So I guess I could say on a day basis, like today, or a holiday, or this day, or that day. Anyway, it was looked at when family was around, when people were around. And what is it that you would speak of? What would you talk about while looking at these photos? Now, I know if you're looking at photos from the past, if you're as old as I am, a lot of these photos were black and white and looked like shit, and they were a little bit blurry. And it just was like, what are we doing here? But in the midst of all the holiday specials and events and everything going on around you, you and family, or you alone, I guess if you're a weird scrapbooker who spends all your time just living in the past, when you took the time to sit down with family, friends, whomever, you talked, you socialized, you were able to reminisce. You had the opportunity to maybe learn something new about literally the person sitting next to you. You may have found out that Aunt Tammy, who's now 400 pounds, at one point in time was in control of who she was. In that bikini on a boat, and you're like, who the fuck is that? And then they're like, hey, it's Tammy over there. That's Tammy right there. And then you turn over to Tammy while she's fucking eating all the leftover dessert. Got to imagine some of the stories you hear while you look through a photo album. But a lot of the stories are great. Like, people were inventive, and this is when somebody did this, and then it became that. Somebody did this, and then this happened. Somebody did that, and then this happened. More times than not, whenever a picture has been taken, it was an important day for that human. And then you put it in an album. You save all these pictures, and then you're able to tell other humans about what you were capable of doing, what you do, and what you've done. It's a pleasurable experience a good 98% probably of the time when you look through an old photo album with family or friends. Now, it was definitely... Now, I can recall, I don't believe I ever seen those photo albums leave the bookshelf that they were placed on. I don't ever remember them being taken out and then brought out the front door and then driven down the road, and then I don't ever remember getting in a car with my family or getting in a car with my grandparents or my parents or anybody in my family, aunts, uncles. I don't ever remember us grabbing that book of photos. I don't know why I can't remember this, but I don't ever remember grabbing this book of photos, taking it, getting in the car as a group, and then driving, I don't know, maybe a town, 2 towns over, maybe even just up the street, and then knocking on what presumably would be a stranger's door, because you're just picking this book, you get in the car, and you're just knocking on his door. No. Hurry up and answer. Once they answer, you say, "You're not going to believe this shit." And then, I mean, in this day and age, if you haven't been knocked to your ass already just by showing up without letting them know first, they'll probably be like, "What the fuck are you doing here?" And secondly, who are you? And then you say, I don't ever remember my grandma or my grandpa or my mom or dad ever saying, "Hey, you're not going to believe this. We got this photo album. We need to come in, sit down with you, and you need to know what we did. You need to see what my family has done. You need to see what my kids look like when they were younger. You need to see me, my aunt, my uncle around a bonfire. You need to see my crazy grandfather in the 40s and 30s and 20s fighting these fucking Japs over it. You need to see what this family or what an individual... I mean, you got a photo album. Obviously, there's got to be more than one you in there. So you're taking this album, you're going, "Hey, you got to sit down. You got to look at this with me. You're never going to believe it." Now, I don't ever remember doing that as a kid. I don't ever remember going on that type of adventure. And even just now thinking about it, man, that'd be dumb as fuck, wouldn't it? I mean, that's on the borderline of mental instability. That's on the borderline of fucking insanity. That is ridiculous. It's stupid. It's dumb. It's almost perverted in a way. To want to take your family photo album and then gather up the gang and go travel somewhere just to show and lay out, "Hey, look at what we do. Look what we did. Look who we are." It seems very strange, even just saying these words out loud. I just don't ever remember doing it. I truly, I'm really looking through my memories here. Look at this is what I'm doing. I'm looking through my memories here. Oh man. It's very strange. We all have photo albums, right? And to be honest with you, in all of time, whoever kept a photo album ever did anything so ridiculous as to just walk it up the street and show someone else who's not anyone they know. Sounds pretty goddamn stupid to me, don't it? It sounds like the dumbest idea. man, I really think I should start a photo album, and just so I can remember, you know? But if in fact you think about photo albums, it's the year 2023, and I can factually, in my own opinion, tell you this. There is not one private photo album anymore. Not one picture you take, not one video you save. There is nothing in your life, in my life, in anybody who will live after today's life, who has a private, unseen, unknown photo album. I will encourage you all to do this. Every you who listens, I encourage you to start a hard copy, get a nice, durable, time-withstanding photo album, and start taking pictures and then putting them into that photo album. Maybe mark a date on the back, maybe mark down your experience, what you did, what happened. And then just put it in the sleeve and do that over and over and over again until you fill up one album. And once you have filled up one album, even better, get one that only has 365 available slots, so that in fact you can take one picture a day for a year and then fill up that album. A hard copy. You keep it at home. Do that for 1 year. Write down the first day you do it, and then the last day you do it, and then do it again the next year. Here's the kicker though. Stop wasting your time sharing, tagging, posting it on the internet. Because in fact, if everybody already knows your business, what kind of true socializing are you going to do when you actually are in the presence of another human? So, I challenge you. Put together a photo album and keep that shit to yourself. And then look at it and see where you are a year after you chose to start keeping track of your today. This episode will be unedited. You will hear all the background noise. You will hear the dogs barking. You will hear whatever it is you choose to hear during this episode. However, this episode will be unedited for your listening pleasure. Now we end. From here on out, we will be ending every episode of the TrapHouse podcast with simply this: the word. And the word today is inextensible. Let me say it again. Inextensible. Not capable of extension. I encourage you all, do not be inextensible. I encourage you to be you. And to be the best you. And you can't even be the best, but be you. Beyond the you who you may think you are. be you. Beyond you. There's no arguing with me, folks. Absolutely none at all. If you try to argue with me, you'll be known as the human who argued with the greatest retard of time. Remember, folks, these are all facts in my opinion.